Welcome to New Realities. I'm Alan Steinfeld, and this is the second regression to get in touch with my alien abduction. Happened in 1987 that I'm doing with Dan Ryan.
Hello.
Dan's a hypnotherapist, and we did one about 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of just a superficial dip in, wasn't it?
It was a starting point. Yeah, it's a huge subject, of course. Hypnosis, regression therapy,
Alien abductions.
Yes. And truly, too, how these subjects intersect, because they do. There's a story that I wanted to tell today about an experience I had in Turkey once. But just before I get to that, did want to say hello and welcome everybody. We're here at the Center for Integrative Hypnosis, for what it's worth, here in New York City.
It's a live stream, so I don't know how deep I'll go this time before you tell your story. I just want to say,
Please.
The first time I was getting used to that state. I was seeing images, but I couldn't say it was not from my imagination. To tell you the truth, I can't say. I take a line from what Terence McKenna recently said. It's just a cross between experimentation and theater. So the way I was getting images when we were going back to that time, it was a time in 1987 where I had some lost time. They weren't coming from my imagination. I wasn't sure. They were just coming to me, but from a new place in my mind. From a place I wasn't familiar with, so it could be part of my imagination, and who knows. But I was getting images about this event that happened to me in 1987, so I'll go through that after you tell your story.
And there's a very important discussion to be had here in general about the nature of memory, about the nature of time, about hypnosis for memory retrieval. We could spend this whole talk on that. Hypnosis for memory retrieval is one of my least favorite things to do.
But that's what we're doing.
Exactly. But because of the nature of memory. Here's why it's important.
Right.
And because we have to ask these questions of how much imagination is there, how much of this book I read and movies I saw and biases and filters and unconscious everything. So it's all present.
But I do have to say, this is not, in a sense, not a memory, because what happened to me when I had this event wasn't really an experience that I was conscious of. So there's actually no memory that I'm drawing from. So it's not a memory in a sense.
And this to me, and this for us, is the more interesting angle, even as we got to in the first session, for instance, how we talked about this, and this is the thing that's consistent with the literature, and perhaps the most interesting and difficult aspect of this. If there are extraterrestrials and beings that live outside of our physical laws and our way of understanding life in the earth, then again, time, physics, language, sound, everything, all of these things may and probably do operate differently.
They absolutely do. I've been obsessed since 1987, since this event happened. I've been obsessed with aliens and abduction. I've read a lot about it. So when I actually did this regression last time, I actually didn't see what I thought I would see. I didn't see what's typically described as grays. I saw more of these bug-like beings, or that's the image that came to me. There was an intelligence to them that I didn't actually get at first. I thought they were just kind of like you'd see an insect. But then once I went a little deeper, I realized there was a sort of intelligence to them. David Jacobs, I watch a lot of videos about this stuff, and David Jacobs is one of the pioneers in the field. He said it takes at least 3 regressions to get to a way of memory that relates to the experience. So this is only number 2, so don't expect any fireworks. We'll see.
That's another misconception of hypnosis, actually, is fireworks in general, but that's a whole other talk.
I am really tired today. Will it put me to sleep?
It won't put you to sleep, but it will impact the experience. It won't put you to sleep. We'll do everything with a wakeful enough energy that we won't take any naps. But like we were talking about before, and for you, the audience, ideally, we would be doing this with plenty of energy in the morning or the daytime, with an open time frame. And, right now it's like almost 7 p.m. and we're a little tired and all this. So it's cool. It's really just being upfront and knowing this and going in with this awareness.
All right, great. I mean, I can't say that what comes to me is not my imagination. I can't say it comes from somewhere. It doesn't come from the same place where I sense imagination coming from. It's sort of like a different window I'm looking at. That was new to me. The other thing from the last session was what I remembered was being frozen, going to sleep and feeling frozen in time at a certain location. And I was just watching this interview with, or it was actually a presentation that Linda Moulton Howe did at the Conscious Living Expo last year in LA. And she talked about, who's Bob Lazar at Area 51, seeing an alien instrument. Maybe I'll play that next time, where this instrument zapped a candle that was burning, and that candle burning was like frozen in time. And I heard that after I described my being frozen in time. It was like a time mold that happened.
To it. Yeah, and that's also, again, one of the most interesting and prominent memories for me from that first session is that idea, which I find absolutely compelling, which I haven't been able to shake. Again, that changing and working with alternate physical laws, essentially, and completely different ways of engaging with time that we as humans may not understand, where, you were almost taken out of the physical space and time as if it were a cast or a mold.
It was like a mold in time and then put back or frozen. The extraterrestrial phenomena, whatever you want to call it, is a multidimensional phenomenon. They obviously don't exist all the time within this 3D reality, yet they seem to come in and out of this 3D reality. So they're manipulators of time the way, it's a cliche now, but the way we can manipulate film, we're looking at one frame, and we can move one frame around, we can hold a frame. Imagine, in editing, you can hold a still frame. This was like a still frame that I was cut back into after the experience was over.
Yeah.
So that's one way to explain it. The incident that I'm referring to was a cross-country trip. Me and my friend Jane and this other guy named Kurt were driving cross-country. We stopped in North Platte, Nebraska. We were very tired at night. Me and Jane went to sleep in the back seat, and I think this guy, Kurt, lay on the floor of the van. And that's when I remembered being frozen. I don't remember anything else. I did have the feeling when I woke up in the morning to just get out of there. It just felt a little weird. So we did.
When did you find the mark on the back of your leg?
And then I found this mark on the back of my leg about a week after. Someone pointed out, what's that mark there? It was a 4-pronged puncture mark, which is evidence that something happened. I said, I don't know what that is. It was weird. That was about, I guess it was about a week later.
A week later. Okay.
Or maybe it could be 3 or 4 days. Could be in the most 3 or 4 days later.
Okay.
And the other thing I noticed in that first regression had been coming from the Oregon Country Fair. And outside of Eugene, Oregon, I had a cough from all the dust that was happening, that happened at the fair, a lot of dust. So during the regression and going back to that time, I felt as if the lungs had cleared up. It was the breathing was alleviated during that moment. So and then I really didn't see that much in that first regression. You could see it on my YouTube channel, what happened. It was just kind of getting familiar with the territory. So let's see where we go.
Yeah. So everybody knows that is consistent with everybody's stories of hypnosis and regression. Basically,
what's consistent
is that anytime a person is experiencing a past life regression, a session of hypnosis, or even a guided meditation, you're essentially, especially if it's a one-on-one with a therapist, you're getting to know the therapist, you're getting to know their style, and you're getting to know the language that the guided experience is going to be in, whether it's a regression, meditation, hypnosis, whatever we call it. So this being our second, Now we know
Okay.
each other a little bit. You're a little bit more familiar. I can guarantee you will have a different experience today. That's an easy thing for me to say.
Okay, let's see where we go.
And I can also guarantee you, as our familiarity and your familiarity with the process goes, it'll be like a space that you become more and more familiar with. What happens when you get there, that I don't know.
I don't know either. That's why it's an experiment. So,
right.
Okay, so what are you going to, so we're ready? Or do you have a story
I want
to
to
tell?
tell one story.
Yeah,
I'd like to
please,
tell one story. So this took place in 2011 when I was in Turkey. I was attending the 4th, I think it was, World Congress for Regression Therapy. And I was watching a demo by a Dutch therapist by the name of Hans ten Dam. Wonderful man, but I highly suggest looking up his work. Hans was doing a demo.
On hypnosis.
Correct, on regression therapy specifically.
I do have to say Dan's an expert hypnosis, hypnotic, regression. His father, it's in the family. He comes from a long tradition of this work.
I'm the co-director at the Center for Integrative Hypnosis in New York City, and as was just mentioned, hypnosis and past life regression happen to be the family business.
I guess so. Okay, so what happened?
So in Turkey, I'm watching this Dutch therapist who is a master of his trade do a demo with a Turkish woman. The Turkish woman that he's working with, he's doing a past life regression with her, and she goes into an experience as a Native American woman. Then the Native American woman, the Turkish woman was in a past lifetime, is visited by and abducted by an extraterrestrial.
In the past lifetime?
In the past lifetime.
Okay.
So
that's almost too far out for me. No,
stay with me.
I'm with you.
Stay with me. So this Native American woman who's inside of the Turkish woman is now abducted, and her body is taken over by an ET.
So now we're 3 realities removed.
Absolutely, you're correct. Yes, we are in a kind of Russian dolls of psyches.
Okay.
All right. And
because we have the woman, we have the
we have a Turkish woman, a Native American woman,
and then we have an ET.
That's right.
Okay.
Inside the same psyche.
All right.
Inside the same human body.
I don't really want to go there myself, but that's okay. Okay. But anyway, what happened?
So Hans, in his wisdom, is talking with this ET that's talking through the Native American woman that's talking to the Turkish woman. The ET tells Hans that it too is a healer. This ET has lost its way. It's looking for its way home, and it's lost. It describes itself as a brilliant yellow light with 1,000 tentacles and yellow lights at the end of the tentacles, and it's looking for its way home. And then Hans turns to us, the students, and says something absolutely beautiful, which I've never forgotten.
Okay.
And he says that whatever shows up in the therapy, you become its therapist too. So,
considering that's actually an entity and not part of someone's consciousness, or even if it's part of someone's consciousness, it's still.
Well, stay with me.
Okay. Okay.
So Hans is conversing with this ET that's conversing through the women and helps this ET. I can't remember exactly what was said. I'd be happy to give you the detail that I do have. But basically, through a series of questions and answers, can we help you? What do you need? How can I help you now? What could we give you? Etc. Helps this ET to find its way home, then helps the Native American woman through whatever she needed and was searching for, then helps the Turkish woman to resolve and understand and integrate the experience that she just had, working backwards through the experience that happens. And again, his message was, no matter what shows up, whether it's a figment of her imagination, whether it's an extraterrestrial, whether it's a past lifetime, you become its therapist too. And from a therapeutic standpoint, here's the thing. I'm agnostic. I don't have a position on the veracity of anything here so much. As a therapist, my central and core interest is using this tool as a therapy to help people feel better and integrate their experiences and have more comfortable experiences on this planet.
Okay.
So, and what that means for me essentially is I want you to have the experience that you need to have, and I'm going to guide you through that. But in terms of whatever does or doesn't show up, I'm just going to become its therapist too.
Okay, let's see what shows up. Let's see if there are any questions on the. Of course. I mean, you can also press it again to see if we get. Lori, if there's any comments, you can just text them, and you just press that, and then okay, we're good. Okay, we're good. Anyway, okay, so you're going to do a hypnotic. People can play along. I mean, you can go into this regression. You could go into this.
If by chance you're driving a car or operating a heavy machine at the moment, I might not listen to this and do that at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's many people operating heavy machinery
Probably not.
listening to this, but
Probably not.
and then we'll go into a little relax, and then I'll see what comes. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to make anything up, but
No.
I'm going to just say, like I did last time, the images that are coming to me, and who knows where they're coming from.
Yeah.
They could be coming from this event or someplace else. So,
of course, and as Bessel van der Kolk says in his book, The Body Keeps the Score. You know, memory is stored all over the body.
Mhm.
So, you know, the information that's there, we'll work with.
There's information, and there's also creative imagination, and maybe that's information from another realm in time. So we don't know. But actually, since that last regression, I've gotten a lot more. I've been reading a lot more about the non-physicality of ETs, how they're sort of a psychic dimension. Jacques Vallée in the book Dimensions, he talks about that non-physical, how the ETs are interacting. And actually, one more thing, I did after that last regression had a dream where there was a big bird. I know that's a screen memory. It didn't feel strange. It was kind of comforting me. It was like a big parrot. It was a strange dream.
Mm-hmm.
And usually people have screen memories of that, but I didn't expect that. And it was okay. I think it was just saying it was okay. I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But so I've gotten more into the psychic realm of ETs, where there's kind of a merging with other elemental spirits. There's no fine line between the what we call physical ETs and this etheric world. There's a sort of interface that, you know, people like Whitley Strieber also talk about. So a lot of people in the history were talking about hardware. Now it's more about consciousness. So, okay, that's all I had to report via the last session.
Consciousness creates pictures. Didn't you say that a few moments ago? Before we start streaming?
Consciousness creates pictures, but the pictures also could be coming from someplace.
Of course, yeah.
So, all right, let's see where we go.
All right.
I'm ready.
Now, usually I would dim the lights a little bit, but because we're on camera here, we'll leave them on. So
That's fine.
can see us.
I can be okay. I am really sort of tired. I'm just going to relax.
Cool, man.
And so people listening can also relax.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
please do.
And if anyone is interested in asking a question while I'm under hypnosis, I can answer questions. I felt conscious enough.
Yes, there can be a dialogue.
So if anyone has a question while I'm under, you can text in the chat, and Lori will relay that message.
If you drop it in the chat, there's a pretty good chance it'll get to me. So there's a possibility.
So if you have a question while I'm on it, or even before, then I'll try to answer that from an altered state. So I will be going to an altered state.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. I'm ready.
So go ahead and close your eyes.
It's like, it's like, like doing that, like LSD and put in your mouth and you say, should I do that? That's what I feel like. Is it going to happen? Like you drink the ayahuasca and it's like.
The red pill or the blue pill?
Right. Anyway, that's what I feel like. Okay. It's like right before it kicks in. Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So with eyes closed, we'll both begin with a deep cleansing breath.
I have to say I'm a little self-conscious, but I'm a little nervous.
Quite all right.
Okay.
And just go ahead and take another. And taking one more, and this time exhaling twice long, letting all the air out of the lungs. And just continuing by letting your breathing be easy and natural. And letting your attention rest with your senses. Noticing the sound and tone of my voice, the other sounds in the room around us. Listening to everything as if hearing one sound. Just imagining what it might feel like if a wave of relaxation were to move over your body now, cascading down from the crown of the head, relaxing the muscles around your eyes, your nose, your cheeks and jaw, moving down the neck and the shoulders. This relaxation moving across the collarbone and down the spine, around the heart and the lungs, down to the core, past your hands and your hips and down both legs all the way to the bottoms of your feet. Feeling your body connected and complete from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes as the next deep breath rises and is exhaled twice as long. Noticing any thoughts in mind, any ideas or opinions, thoughts of earlier today or later today, past or future. And just noticing as if for the first time, as if we were children playing with our imaginations, that we can watch those thoughts pass. This not being an intellectual exercise, you don't need your thinking mind right now. So just watching those thoughts pass as if watching so many clouds getting further and further and further away. Being present effortlessly just by reconnecting to the sense of the chair beneath you, the sound and tone of my voice, and all the other sounds around us as the next deep breath rises and is exhaled twice as long. Using your imagination now. Again, as if we were children playing with our imaginations. I'd like you to imagine for yourself a beautiful, safe, and relaxing place, whether it's some place you've imagined or been before, or some place that you invent, or some place in between. Knowing there is no right or wrong, there is no good or bad, that those are just ideas and you can have them back later. This is a place that you create in your mind, so make it as beautiful as it possibly can be. Make it the place you'd like to visit right now. And just saying yes when you have this place in mind, so I know.
Yes.
Wonderful. Noticing what it is that is beautiful about this place and bringing your awareness there first person. Exploring through your senses, noticing how it feels there. The ground beneath your feet. Touching around you the surfaces, noticing texture. Hearing the sounds there, noticing which of them are close to you and which of them are far away. Using the senses of smell and taste too, if they apply. And noticing that this is indeed your place as you interact with the surfaces, the items, the objects there. Again, noticing that if you open up the doors, drawers, cupboards, that your things are strewn about here, whether it's images, journals, things you've been working on, old thoughts, old stories. Taking your time there and enjoying it, playing with it, resting with the senses, noticing how it feels, revisiting these things, some of which perhaps you've not seen in some time. Noticing what emerges naturally, noticing what presents itself. As you're exploring there, I would like you to notice that somewhere nearby there is a large drafting table, a table where work might take place, not unlike the table that we were working with in the last session. Letting your attention gravitate towards it, And just saying yes for me when you have this table in mind, so I know.
Yes.
Wonderful. So letting emerge out of the table again, working with it as it works with you. A timeline. Noticing the point on this timeline that represents today, this present moment. Seeing the line that stretches into the past, through yesterday and last week and last month, last year, 2018, 2 years ago, 5 years, 10 years, 15. Just saying yes for me when you can see this timeline stretching into the past.
Mm-hmm.
Following it, 10 years ago, 15, 20. Noticing the moments, the chapters of your life that emerge and jump out at you, remind you they're there. Letting your awareness gently float back to that cast, that mold in time, that patch on the timeline from 1987. The before, during, and after. Noticing how the colors or qualities change, noticing what is or is not there in the line. Feeling free to speak now. What do you notice?
Keep getting an image of us before we took off on our trip. There was a picture taken, and that picture keeps coming back of me and the people in the car. So that picture before we left Oregon is just coming up for some reason.
Staying with those pictures, in your mind, stepping through them and into them like portals. Letting the body remind itself how it felt to be there.
Well, again, I feel that heaviness in the chest and just wanting to leave the dusty area, saying goodbye to some friends. And then we get on the road and we stop at the hot springs where I feel better. We stop at the Cougar Hot Springs. And then we cross over the mountains, the Cascades, and then keep driving through Eastern Oregon and through, through on the highway. That's what I'm remembering.
Taking a deep breath. Bringing your awareness back into the car, back into the scene. The sound of Jane's voice, Kurt's voice, the texture of the upholstery in the car.
Right, it's a very brilliant sunset that we're watching as we're being driven. We're in the back seat. Me and Jane.
What were you thinking at that time?
I think, look how bright and clear that sun is. Look how. And then me and Jane are laying in the back seat. It was like a bed in there.
How long had you and Jane been together at that time?
Well, actually, I had met her in Sedona, and then she flew out to meet me in Oregon. So I knew her about a month, maybe, which was nice. It was a very nice relationship, nice connection, and instant connection. So we were driving back east from Oregon, and there was a truck driver behind us who gave us a little toot on the horn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What color is the truck?
Like a silver. Just, you know, just nice little acknowledgement of us two in the back seat there. And then we got tired and we pulled off the highway and found this kind of strange place to sleep by these canals. The sign said enter at your own risk, and I guess that's because the canals fill up. I had the sense to turn the car around for some reason. We drove into this kind of canal area with, the front of the car first in, but I felt like we needed to turn it the other way, and we were just too tired, and it just left me with a strange feeling that we should have turned the car around for whatever reason. So the windshield would be facing the road as opposed to away from the road. I don't know what that means, but it just left me with the feeling that we should be facing out towards the light as opposed to away from the light.
Take a deep breath now. Pausing the time in your own mind, staying with that feeling of where to face and the light. Where do you feel the feeling in your body?
Feel around the upper stomach there, like a little discomfort.
Staying with that sensation there. I would like us to observe that feeling without wanting to make suggestion. Possibility that the feeling is more than just a feeling.
Right. No, I do have a creepy feeling, like an eerie feeling about that, about not turning the car around, but also being too tired to. I said, "What's the big deal?" But it was a kind of weird feeling. Yeah.
Taking another deep breath now. And resting with this sense, resting with this feeling that it's resting around the heart and the chest there, and bringing your awareness back above the timeline, holding that time, that little patch of time in 1987 now, seeing the before and the after and the all around it. No expectations put upon that patch of time at this time, but just observing it.
Yeah, I think it would have been something would have been different if we turned the car around to face the road as opposed to facing away from the road. I don't know why, but it seemed like things were just we were supposed to turn around and we didn't for whatever reason. I don't know.
So with the next deep breath, focusing your attention now, bringing back that idea, that sense of what an interface might be to communicate or translate across, say, dimensions in your mind now. I'd like you to feel free to play and experiment with bringing your awareness into that patch of time.
Well, what I just got was that because we're in whatever position these beings couldn't do everything they were supposed to do. That's a thought that came to me. The beings that were waiting for us couldn't totally complete their operations or something.
Letting the awareness be there. No judgment, no commentary, just noticing what emerges. Staying with your senses. Again, continuing to bring your awareness as best you can. Transcending, as best we can, our own humanity into what might be another form of life, to get into that mold, into that moment, into that cast in time. Allowing our reality to disintegrate into fractals and for something else to reemerge, even if momentarily, if that's all that can happen.
No, the thought of turning the car around was not actually coming from me. Feels like I was receiving that thought. It was like it was felt, and we didn't do it for some reason. So there was some conflict there or something. But that has always stayed with me about supposed to turn the car around, not, and something, I guess that what I just keep getting is a kind of the incomplete experiment. But something happened anyway.
Continuing to observe that sense, resting with the nonverbal as my voice just plays in the background, nothing to articulate at this time, but taking the pure sensory information with you. From that beautiful, safe, and relaxing place where we began, I'd like you to feel free to invite to join you there. A guide for you in this experience, perhaps even inviting to join you, an extraterrestrial. Inviting to join you, perhaps even the extraterrestrial who met you that day.
Right, I see somebody. I don't think he's the one that met me there.
So I have some questions for you that I would like us to direct towards your guide, allowing whatever information that emerges to emerge.
I just want to say that
Please.
Because this car was in its position, the ship, or the access, or the appearance wasn't as powerful, wasn't as present as it could have been. That's the sense that I'm getting because of where we were located. I don't know what that even means, but...
Feeling free now in your mind to direct your questions to your guide, asking him or her what this means.
Okay, the guide says, actually it's all okay. Actually, the guide saying that thought was kind of a test to see how telepathic I was. So in a way, it didn't matter. They just wanted to, it was a kind of beaming in to see how receptive I was to thought. That's what I get. So maybe it didn't matter. Yeah.
Taking a deep breath, letting that awareness echo and reverberate. What other questions do you have for your guide at this time?
I want to know what actually happened that night.
Asking the question.
I'm not getting a clear answer to say. Well, many things at once come. Many things like this wasn't the first time, and they were taking genetic samples, and I just get many images. I mean, it's like playing, 5 television stations at once. I just get a whole bunch of simultaneous answers to that.
Taking your time now, in the privacy of your own mind, not needing to watch all 5 television stations at once. I would like you to take with you a process that can watch each of them at its own time.
The first image I get is being young, like maybe 3, 4, and there's a face at the window that's communicating with me. Or present. I don't even know if it's communicating. I just sense the face at the window. I think I must be 3 or 4 years old. And then what's strange is I remember getting a toy that had that same face in it. It was so strange. A little plastic toy that had a face like that I saw at the window. So, and then around that time, I also remember getting up in the middle of the night and just going to the bathroom and laying down on the floor in the bathroom for some reason. No one was there. I just felt like a place to rest there. Strange. At least that's what I remember.
Taking that with you.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all right if we direct a few questions to your guide from our audience?
Yeah, sure.
One of the questions that came through is how to unlock or unmute muted dreams.
Hmm.
How to unlock or unmute muted dreams. How to receive direct messages from dreams.
That's a question you're asking.
Yes.
And the answer I get is don't be afraid.
That's a good answer.
There's so much locked away in the human psyche that, or in the answer I get in most people's minds is that they open that door, they think they'll be overwhelmed, but I think it's this process one at a time, like separating the threads out one at a time, so it's not overwhelming.
Separating the threads out so it's not overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. But I feel there is another door to go through that I haven't gone through. There's another level of meeting.
The next question to that point of meeting is, do thoughts arise from the material human body, or is it more of a collective hive mind, the incorporeal mind that we cannot see yet we all share?
Well, it's not the thoughts don't arise from the body unless the body has something to tell you, but generally I get that thoughts arise from the connection to the spirit, your connection to the source, and that can be, so your individual source signature sends thoughts to the human consciousness, but that can also be interrupted by other beings or people sending thoughts as well. So knowing yourself and what your thoughts are, you can get clear of what is not your thoughts and be receptive to other consciousnesses. The thing about the ETs that I'm having a hard time is their level of thought. It's as if in another language of thinking that I can't access. That doesn't, it's not thinking in the way we think.
Mm.
And it's not words. It's a whole something else, not symbols even.
Is it all of them? Is it also math? Is it also music? Is it also...
I get it's something that we don't know. It's like if you were getting a radio signal and didn't have a radio to pick that up. It's like they're sending these waves that we haven't developed a receiver for receiving yet. But I think that's the transition we're in now, is developing a consciousness to receive those, it's like a language, it's very, very foreign.
Asking your guide how to build the receiver for this language, how to translate it.
Right. The guide said it's like any new activity, it's like riding a bicycle. It's like, it's unfamiliar. It's like building a muscle or building a platform. It's like, it's a structure that has to be built that reaches out. It's a development in understanding. We're being now like a baby being taught to speak. They learn very basic words, but they don't get whole sentences. So the thoughts that come are very basic and it's receiving, but at least me, I'm not getting the whole gist of the whole thing, because there's the receivers being built as more is being downloaded. So some people are more developed in that and can receive the thoughts. Some people have no idea, but it's like slowly in the human dimension on planet Earth, these platforms of receivership are being built so we can start to relate to this altered conscious input. That's what I get.
Taking a deep breath. And the last question that I have for your guide tonight is, what is the first step that we can take with us tonight to begin the development of that receiver?
Yes. It's not like anything you know. It's a whole other something else. Don't put it into the box of the known. It's no language we know, but the inklings of impression are the beginning of a new awareness that's being birthed, I guess. Some people, I guess, can put that into language easily, but it's something new. It's a new mode that we have, in a way, yet to invent, or we're in the process of.
Staying with the feeling and your knowledge of this mode non-verbally at this time, so that it may be articulated another. And in the privacy of your mind, for the remaining moments of this trance, noticing that interval of time on the timeline, noticing that you can zoom in and out from it, making it large and small, and now finally making it just the size you need it to be so that you can put it in your pocket and take it with you. Integrating this experience comfortably, naturally, and easily now, so that you may revisit it, and so that we may explore deeper down the road.
What I get was that this transmission started at 3 or 4 with that first memory of that face in the window, and then it's still building. It's all building for me and for the planet, for everyone, opening up. It's a collective development in, actually, language is not the right word. It's like a thought mode that is unfamiliar, but we're getting closer to it. So,
taking a deep breath, feeling that closeness. Thanking your guide on my behalf for their presence, and knowing that you may have an ongoing conversation with them in your own time. Letting your mind clear. Feeling the breath in your lungs, the support of the chair beneath you, the sound and tone of my voice and all the other sounds around us. In a moment, I'll count up from 1 to 5, and when I reach 5, I'll ask you to open your eyes. And you'll be awake, alert, and ready for the rest of the night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. Yeah, I got some interesting stuff. We didn't go back to that occasion, though. We didn't go back where I thought we were going.
Well, we were going at different angles and approaching it from different ways. And, again, going deeper today, more than anything else, I wanted us to get more comfortable with each other, with the process, and to just continue chipping away at the facade. Because one of the most interesting things I just heard you say a minute ago is this started when you were 3 or 4.
Yeah. I've always felt that. I think it did, yeah.
So that's a very different story than every other story I've ever heard you tell.
Well, I've always been aware something happened, but yeah, I do remember seeing that face. I remember I like this hypnotic trance. It's not like I've forgotten.
Yeah,
I was very present with everything I was saying, but the new thoughts that did come with this was that it is interesting. We don't have a way of accessing their conversation just yet.
That's just it. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole thing right there. That's the whole thing. And for greater context for everybody, just so you know, this is a unconventional session of hypnosis.
What's a conventional session?
Well, usually they're not recorded, and usually the lights would be lower, and it would be the scene would be a little bit more set for relaxation, and there would be like chat comments and stuff like this. So all of those things do matter. I just want the audience to be aware of that.
But the other thing is sometimes in regressions you don't always go to where you're intended to go.
Correct.
Other things come up.
Yeah, surprise, unpredictability is the norm in many cases, and oftentimes, much like today. Again, I'll be very curious to talk about this in 2 days or next week or something like that, because there were a couple times when I asked you if you would bring your awareness into that moment in time, to go into the abduction, to even invite the ET in to speak with you. And each of those times, again, for reasons that could very likely include we don't have a way of communicating and this thought mode is completely unknown, we got bounced out of those moments.
We did.
Yeah. I mean, we essentially weren't kind of allowed to go there. And I don't say that like somebody was saying we weren't allowed, but
no, I think I'm getting used to those places. I think there's still, you mean we didn't go there when you said, I thought we did go there when you said that, and then it went back to 3 years old, you're saying? Is that, which
I recall,
get bounced out of?
As I recall, the moment where I was asking you if you'd let your awareness go into the abduction story, it was right after we had talked about how to face the car and the road and where the light was coming in.
Right. And then we went back to 3 years old.
Essentially, yes. I was asking you to bring your awareness into that. And I think the next thing you were telling me about is when you were 3 or 4.
Well, for me, as I remember this, I was talking about that idea of the car was a thought that I was being given. And then I went back to 3 years old and I started to talk about developing a language of receiving thought. So it, in a way, is part of that same theme.
Okay. Yeah. Well, definitely connected. Yeah.
Of how do we start to meet them on their telepathic level?
Yeah.
At least for me, other people seem to have an instant telepathy with that.
And during this session too, I was getting all kinds of spooky ideas.
You were like what? No, we should have went there. What was it?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, your story of what happened at 3 or 4 combined with, again, the feeling of where to face the car. I was getting this sense the whole time, like your life has had many larger chapters of continuous conversation with extraterrestrials.
You were getting that?
I was getting this, yes.
All right.
that because a thought mode and an interface do not exist, it's just mistaken for human life.
Well, I think most people have that problem. They do get messages, and they do think it's nothing or that. Sure. And I think what we're learning to do now within this like shifting paradigm of conscious awareness is to recognize the subtleties of thought as they come to us.
Yeah. And
not necessarily ignore them. This is actually what I've been teaching in remote viewing. I've been teaching remote viewing to pick up on the awareness. And so but you're right. We're probably it's like someone knocking at the door and you're thinking it's
that's just the sound. Thing. I mean, as you were talking about this incident at 3 or 4 years old, I had this this moment, which could have been a flashback from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or it could have been your life,
or it could have been your life,
or that.
Yeah.
But of essentially a conversation beginning when you were a boy. That lasted through your adulthood, that continues to this day, that this God bless, is the closest thing to a fucking interface. I hope we can curse in this show.
With what?
But exactly.
Interface with what?
Exactly. That this is the closest thing, that this search, this effort, this work, even us humans talking about this stuff with each other is the best we can get.
I think I'm actually getting closer than this because I'm actually writing about.
I believe you are.
Because I'm writing. No, this is a part of it, and it showed me another path. But I'm writing about the whole idea of cognition versus recognition in terms of UFOs. So, and that's sort of, it may have influenced what I just said here.
For sure.
Are there any questions coming through?
There were a couple.
What else do we got? Oh, we have a long one here. Let's see. Thank you all for tuning in.
Yes, thank you very much, everybody.
How can I unlock the unmuted? That was a good question. That opened the whole thing. Do you think thoughts arise from the material body? No, I think they arise. What in your opinion is the main thing that would help a week in humanity?
Yeah,
like
pardon my not mentioning that question. I wasn't sure how to articulate it. But yes, this question.
What, in your opinion, is the main thing that would help a week in humanity like crystal grid subconscious made visual?
Now, I think that's a question for the extraterrestrial, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I do know people that talk about that. I think the more we're aware of the grids, the more access to these realities. And I just met this guy who's very much in touch with ET. This guy Igor, who talks all about the grids.
I think he called you, actually.
Did he? All about the grids and being aligned with the grids as a way of getting that extraterrestrial thoughts clearer. People in the chat are acting for your doctor's name. Who is your hypnotherapist? This is here. Tell them who you are again.
My name is Daniel Ryan. I'm the co-director at the Center for Integrative Hypnosis here in New York City. My website is danielryancrt.com. And my email is danielryancrt@gmail.com.
And you do past life regressions?
I'm a hypnotherapist. I specialize in past life regression. I also specialize in anxiety relief and stress relief, this being New York City in the modern age. But yeah, my father was a hypnotherapist, and it's the family business. But
also you do alien regressions of abductions.
I do now.
You do now? Well, this wasn't your first, though.
This is my second.
Your second.
Okay. So extraterrestrial experiences, abduction stories, the Pleiadians, blue avians, these are actually concepts that are very heavily related and talked about very often within regression therapy. I personally, as a practitioner, honestly, Alan, I love working with you, man, because you're like the first and most in terms of just getting to work with somebody about ETs and UFOs, because this is something that's been in my past, but I haven't.
Maybe you've been abducted. Maybe I should regress you. No.
I'd say my feelings on it, I mean, truly, like I personally do not believe there's any way we're alone in this universe. But I
are they talking to us? Are they?
Well, again, the interface is the more interesting thing for me, because like we've talked about and mentioned before, I just think the most likely scenario is that these beings are so far outside of our frame of reference that they could be here right now and we're mistaking them.
And they probably are, but I watch all this stuff, and so many people are so much more in touch than I am. Whitley Strieber, like, boom, he remembers this whole thing.
Sure.
And I read a lot. I mean, it's okay. I had my own experience. I don't mind that. And I think, like David Jacobs said, it takes about 3 sessions to get familiar with the territory.
And that's true of hypnosis. Pardon my interruption.
Yeah.
But it takes multiple sessions, usually with any new therapist, to get comfortable, I think.
Right.
But then certainly in a process of hypnotherapy, for you to get comfortable with the process, us to get to know each other. And again, there's usually not this added component of the cameras and everything. I love that it's here, but it does add an element.
It does add an element, and I'm conscious of it. And like I said, it's sort of a performance experiment. But again, I went to a place I didn't expect to go. No major fireworks this time. Sorry about that.
For what it's worth.
Okay, tell me.
I want to cancel out any expectation of fireworks.
Okay, good. Right. It's just
because it's going to set up an expectation in the audience's mind and our minds, and it's not productive.
No, I don't.
And I know what you mean.
I mean, the information was was interesting for me. I mean, maybe that's all it's supposed to be.
Here's the thing, man. I mean, if you keep doing this, like 5 times, 10 times, however many times you wanted to do this with me or other people,
Right.
your cumulative experiences are going to add up to something. And every time you do this story you've lived with for all your life gets reframed this much.
What is that, a lot or a little?
I don't know.
Okay.
You're going to tell me later.
Okay.
But that depends on your feeling of it. Again, it's this thing that you've lived with and worked with for so long. So as you have these experiences and your experience becomes reframed, it will change for you. So that's just a way of saying really that keep going and notice what you notice. And people talk about transformation happening like that, but it's always years in the making.
I mean, the thing I get from this and what came through me is that telepathy is a developmental process, at least on the ET level. What they're trying to give us is not just random thoughts in a language. What they're trying to give us is a whole framework of thinking that has yet to, in a way, be developed in human beings. It's a whole, to get Stephen now, like a whole picture of like a machine of something that we have yet to figure out how to operate. And that's partly our minds. I don't even know how to operate that. But so, yeah, there's telepathy among human beings. There's thought forms. But what we are moving into is something we have no reference for. And we're like babies speaking like a language. Can you remember as a child what it was to form a word and associate it? It's a very difficult process to say something and refer to something in its meaning. It's like I can almost get a sense of what that is as a child. It's like it's connections in the brain that in a way they're natural, but they have to be nurtured.
They do. And well, go ahead.
No, that's what I'm getting about this. And what were you going to say?
Just tagging on to what you're saying, what we're talking about too on a cumulative level. Because right now you're just one person trying to, communicate with your own memories, really. But talking about us as a species trying to communicate with who we're regarding right now, it's just like an incomprehensible depth.
But they're memories, but they're also present. Like what I'm getting now about this whole conversation about language is also something that actually wasn't a memory. It's something that's like being put together now as I kind of analyze what, if we want to call them ETs, and this next level of our evolution is about. It's as if we are really babies learning something new. And that takes months, years, sometimes to walk or to do this. But if we could just remember that very process of what it's like to speak. And actually, I didn't speak until I was really old. I didn't feel, it was like 3 or 4. I just didn't feel like I needed to.
Around the same time you received a visitation.
That's interesting. I never thought of that.
Interesting. That is interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'd love feedback about this. If there's any more, good job, people. Okay. If that's it, okay. Well, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again. Maybe
we will do it again. I look forward to it. Again, let's follow up on this and talk about just as you're processing it. And so to hear
this was a lot more intellectual, this session. It was a lot more mind. It wasn't like so much even remembering. It was like receiving.
This was a lighter trance too.
Oh, it was?
For greater context. The induction was very short.
Okay.
It was a light trance. Again, the room is very bright. You were kind of tired. In a different setting at a different time.
All right.
Set the stage a little
this
more.
is a process you can follow. Maybe we'll do this like every 2 weeks on Thursday or something like that.
Great. It'd be amazing.
Okay.
That would be the perfect way to do it. Because again, even then too, people can stay tuned and it can develop. And that's as any natural process would require. As we're talking about developing an interface.
Well, I did feel more comfortable with, let's call it my imagination.
Sure.
I felt more comfortable with images. It's like,
with the experience.
But also like maybe I was making up or maybe I wasn't, but I was comfortable in relaying that without doubting where it was coming from.
Yeah.
So Who knows? Who knows? But thanks. Let me know your thoughts. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel at youtube.com/newrealities, and you can just ask me questions about your experience, or just tell me about your experience.
This guy right here. You're the guy.
Okay. Alan Steinfeld with
Daniel Ryan. Thank you very much, everybody.
And thanks for watching.
Good to
Thank you,
see you, man.
Dan.
All right.
And we're going to just end that stream.